Yeah. Oh, it says
Okay.
recording in progress, so the
Yes.
recording is on.
Yes.
Right.
So I think we are recording and we are live in my Facebook profile, and we are zooming in into the Menopause Cafe Israel group. If you want to ask questions, then you need to be in the Menopause Cafe Israel Facebook group. We will answer questions. Anyone who wants any questions answered on what we're talking about, you need to be in the Menopause Cafe Israel Facebook group to ask your questions in the comments, and we will answer your questions in the comments there. We won't answer any questions if you post them on my Facebook profile, in my profile page, but we will answer the questions in the Menopause Cafe Israel. Okay. And with that, Tamar, welcome. And I think you're going to introduce yourself. I'll introduce myself. We're going to have a sort of semi-presentation, semi-conversation, all about menopause, weight gain, nutrition, why it happens, what to do about it, strategies, tips, all those different types of things. And we'll sort of be chatting on this together. And anyone who has questions that they want to ask, put it in the comments, and we hope to answer them. And if for any reason we don't answer your questions while we're having this live conversation, we will write back to you afterwards. So definitely put questions in. And if for whatever reason they're not answered while we are live, if we don't get to see them in time, Tamar and I will answer them in the comments afterwards. Okay. Tamar, do you want to go and introduce yourself? And then I'll introduce myself and I'll talk a little bit. And then I know you've got a lot to say also.
All right. How many people are in listening right now?
How many people are listening at the moment? A few. We've got a few people in attendance.
So welcome.
And I'm sure it will grow as we get on with the conversation.
Great. Okay. Welcome. I'm Tamar Schriger. I'm a clinical dietitian and I'm a holistic nutrition coach. And I work with women from 40, from perimenopause and up. What I want to mention, kind of start off with a couple of different things, and be happy to answer questions. As we age, our fat and muscle and water ratio change. So the fat tissue tends to increase, and the lean muscle mass tends to decrease, as does the water, because that's where the water is, in the lean tissue. So how do we prevent that? How do we deal with that?
But maybe before you give the all the answers away, let's just leave that question there as a bit of a spoiler.
All right.
Yes.
And so that's the body composition. And also the body functions tend to slow down. So like metabolism tends to slow down, and the body building different things tends to slow down, like all different kinds of things. And but there are things that we can do to deal with that. We'll talk about that. And
I guess all those things naturally lead to weight gain.
Yes, okay. Weight gain. And you'll go into this more probably, but estrogen, when the estrogen levels decline starting in perimenopause, so that's typically a time when women can start to gain some weight, but it's not a large weight gain that's attributed to that. It's a few kilos.
Okay, so you've opened up the door very nicely for me to come in and talk about a few things, and then I'll hand back over to you. So I'm Jacqueline Rose, and I am a menopause coach and a yoga for women's health teacher, a hormonal health specialist, and a very passionate women's health advocate. And as Tamar just said, as we enter perimenopause, our hormones begin to change. And that really is the definition of perimenopause. And menopause is that we enter a new stage of hormonal interplay. And the hormonal cycle that we've had for the last 20 years or so now begins to change. Our progesterone starts to fall already from about the ages of 35. And our estrogen starts to decline when we hit perimenopause. But it's not just a nice, gentle decline. It's a bit of a roller coaster up and down. And progesterone and estrogen's sort of interplay together with testosterone really creates a lot of the menopause symptoms. And our body, as you said, Tamar, our body begins to change in the way it responds to things. So, for example, food that you may have eaten before, your body may respond very differently to it. Now in perimenopause, you may experience much more bloating, more irritability, food sensitivities to foods that never really bothered you before, like dairy or maybe alcohol or gluten. And the two other hormones that we need to pay attention to are cortisol and insulin. Cortisol is our stress hormone, and insulin is our blood sugar regulating hormone. And both of those hormones also start to be impacted by the changes in estrogen, progesterone, and our general overall physiological changes as we hit perimenopause and menopause. And very interesting, Tamar, what you said about the changes of body fat to muscle mass as we enter perimenopause, because and to relate it up to estrogen, as you said, two things from my point of view, from a hormonal point of view, are happening in your body. And this is sort of two of the reasons to explain why women gain weight at this time. The first one is that estrogen, as your body naturally, the estrogen levels fall or start to fluctuate or become unpredictable, fat cells are very good estrogen, have very good estrogen storages. So your body wants to hold on to the fat cells because they have the estrogen that your body is losing. So your body tends to stick to those fat cells, specifically around the midriff, middle area of your body. That's where the fat cells with good estrogen resources are, and that's so your body automatically holds on to that because it's losing estrogen. And the second thing is this the way the insulin is now working in our body, and often because of diet that we've had beforehand, or super stressed out lives which impact cortisol, or a whole bunch of inflammation, or foods that we've eaten for long periods of time, high carb diet. We arrive at perimenopause with our insulin a bit out of whack. And our insulin, we've either become slightly insulin resistant, or our insulin is doing these peaks and troughs of, these big shots of insulin because we're eating high carb, high sugary diet, and then these big drops. And that also in perimenopause really is one of the supports weight gain, those big fluctuations. So we really want to be helping to balance out the insulin. So I come at it from a slightly hormonal perspective as to why we're gaining weight, but I think for you and I, the solutions for managing that may be quite similar, or you have your approach and I have my approach, but that's really what the people who are watching and listening want to know. Okay, I understand why I'm gaining weight, but what can I do about it? Because understanding it and realizing that in perimenopause, weight gain is a symptom, a menopause symptom, that's great, but I don't want to be gaining weight. So what do I do about it now?
Okay. Well, I would like to do a share screen. Can I do that now?
I think you should be able to. Yes, you should be able to. Let's hope the technology supports us.
Okay, so this is the food rainbow. This is these are the guidelines that the Ministry of Health recently adopted based on the Mediterranean diet or eating style. Word diet isn't such a great word. I don't like it so much. So this when we eat this way, when we transition to eating this way, this can go a long way in getting us to where we want to be with our nutritional status. So let me just explain a little bit. The rainbow is organized by volume and color. So the green, as you can see, is the one that we need to eat the largest volume of. So that's going to be like half of your plate. Half of your plate is going to be fruits and veg and whole grains and sweet potato. Okay, that's half of your plate. And we need to take up our veg intake. Okay, now the yellow is in the intermediary group. And for the first time, the dairy group is not in a separate group. It's been added together with the healthy fats, olive oil, avocado, tahina, and also unroasted nuts. And what's also in this group, very, very important, legumes like hummus, soybeans, lentils, okay, dried beans of all different colors. Okay, so that we want to eat a moderate amount. And as you can see, you don't have to eat dairy every day, that it's not required. Okay. Now we're getting on to the smaller part of the rainbow, and we can see that we have here the animal protein, and we do need to take down animal protein and take up the plant protein, which is the legumes, nuts, and quinoa also. Quinoa is also going to be like in between the grain and legume group. Okay, but we want to take down the animal protein, chicken, fish, eggs. We want to take down the frequency, the amount of times we have it in the week, and also the portion size. And as you can see, beef is in the very smallest section, so that's less frequent. And in the negative portion of the rainbow, we have a big X through processed foods, including processed meats, and also sugary beverages, and I would add diet beverages to that. Okay, so that's the basis of how our plate looks. Half veg, quarter whole grains, and then quarter of these other things in variety.
Okay, so really, really interesting. Do you have other slides you want to share also? Or is that the only thing you wanted to share?
Right now, that's what I wanted to share.
Okay, so if you can stop sharing your screen, then maybe we can have a bit of a conversation about it, because obviously, really, really excellent advice. So yes, so there's just one thing I want to say about that.
Any questions coming up?
I'm going to have a look if there are any questions, but I want to just add a comment about that. And I think that, 1 second, at the moment, I can't see any questions, but we will have a look. One thing I want to say about that is excellent advice and super, super important, obviously to be more in our plant-based category than in any other category. But what I do want to say is that I think women need to pay attention to within the...
Not hearing you.
Oh. Can you not hear me?
It's,
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, yay.
Sorry. Okay, 1 minute. Let me just close my sound off there. Sorry, everyone. We were too lucky with our technical issues. We were too lucky. Now I'm back. Thank you. So Tamar was just saying, while the internet decided to rudely cut me off, that I think the framework that you're presenting is super important. I just want to mention one thing for women in perimenopause, and that is that what worked for you before will not work for you now necessarily. The food you ate before, the type of diet you had, the eating less and losing weight, that sort of direct relationship, you just less calories in than calories out, and that whole relationship doesn't really hold anymore in perimenopause. We need to really change totally the way that we're eating. I think your framework.
Well, that's perfect. That's a perfect segue for me.
So I just want to say just one thing I just want to add, and that is that women need to also pay attention that they may develop digestive sensitivities to food that never used to be a problem for them. So things like gluten or dairy, things like that, alcohol, caffeine, your body may not respond in the same way. You may, carbohydrates may make you very bloated now. Gluten may make you very bloated. Dairy may give you more of an upset stomach than you were used to. So I just want women to be aware.
And in addition, those can also be symptoms of other issues going on.
Yes.
So, right.
Yeah.
So I want to share the screen again for a second. Were you finished?
Yes. You can carry on.
I just want to share again the screen, and I didn't mention before water, but you can see that the water is now, whoever remembers the food pyramid from before, bye pyramid, hello food rainbow, the water was in a separate area, but now they've integrated the water into the actual rainbow, which is excellent. And I want to really, really emphasize hydration. And I really would highly recommend hydrating from first thing in the morning. You've all night not been eating, drinking generally. And so the first thing you want to do when you get up is start to hydrate. Water, herbal tea. Do that. If you have to have a coffee first thing in the morning, that's fine. But while the water's boiling, while you're making the coffee, drink those 2 glasses of water. It really is very, very important. I can't emphasize it enough. I think that we really need to take up the hydration, and during the day and in the evening as well. I know it's a pain to get up in the night, been doing it for years, but having those headaches and being underhydrated, which most people are, it's hard on the metabolism. It's hard on the functioning. So really, really hydrate.
Yes, super important. I agree. And I also want to refer to the healthy fats that are in that rainbow. So healthy fats like the good oils, coconut oil, nuts, avocados, oily fish, all the good healthy fats.
Cold pressed olive oil.
Pardon?
And cold pressed olive oil. In terms of oils, I really, really recommend taking down, if you're still using refined oils, taking them down and really going over to pressed oils, unroasted nuts. Much as
it's really, really important for good brain function. It's really important to support the body while as we're changing, as our hormones are changing, and as we need that extra support in our bodies. We want to be able to have those good fats really help to support the body in perimenopause and menopause, right?
Yes, absolutely. Fats, healthy fats have a lot of different functions, many, many different functions. And unless there's any questions, this might be a good segue to talk for a minute about the idea about cleanses and detoxes. Are there any questions?
So I can't see any at the moment. I'm going to go in through my phone actually, because my computer doesn't want to show me. But I also wanted to comment on, there was one other thing. Phytoestrogens, food rich with phytoestrogens.
All right, let's talk about that after the reason I want to segue into the detoxes now is because the fats bring me to that directly.
Great.
And here's why. I will tell you why. There's this trend to doing detoxes, cleanses, where you take away the fats, decrease the fats very greatly. And we actually have a 24/7 cleansing machine in our body. It's the liver. The liver, all the blood that comes from the digestive system goes through the liver, which takes care of all the toxins and helps to synthesize a lot of different compounds that our body needs. So, and the liver, to maintain a healthy liver, since it processes all the different nutrients, we need to supply it with all the different nutrients so it can do its job. So just going to give you one example, and that is vitamin D. Okay, vitamin D is made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is the basis of vitamin D. So that is one of the many, many reasons why we need to eat healthy fats so that we can actually help the liver to do its detox job 24/7. Taking away a certain food group or a certain group of nutrients is actually going to sort of backfire on that. So that's not what we want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you want to go and talk about.
Yeah, I just want to add to your comment about detox, because I think you probably feel the same way about this that I do. Our body naturally knows how to cleanse itself. The restrictive images that we have of the detox or the cleanses or the juices, where we restrict our body so that we flush it out and cleanse it out, our body naturally knows how to do that if we are eating the right foods, plant-based, healthy fats, good quality protein, fiber, etc. Our body will naturally do that, with the good herbs and spices and all the support and nutrients that our body needs. So we may need a detox if, let's say, we've been eating rollers in donuts for 8 days of Hanukkah. Then yeah, you may need to sort of just feel that you need to cleanse your body and purge it of all the sugars.
And this is how you do it. You eat, you go overboard with veggies and microgreens. If anybody doesn't know what microgreens are between a sprout and a mature large vegetable. They're grown, they're sprouted for a few days, and then they're under light. They're exposed to light for 7 to 10 days. But they grow, they're very small, but they're very, very concentrated in nutrients because they're so small.
Right.
So if you need to cleanse out the overload of sugar in your body, you want to eat lots of salads with microgreens, sprouts, really, and hydrate, of course. Hydrate, very, very important.
Yeah. So yes, so going back to phytoestrogen rich food. So as we travel along the perimenopause and menopause journey, and as our hormones are changing and we're experiencing menopause symptoms, there are lots and lots of ways that we can support ourselves to manage our menopause symptoms, sometimes maybe even to really reduce them. And one of those ways is by having phytoestrogen rich food, which helps to boost our estrogen levels. I was actually speaking to one of my clients today who seems to be experiencing some menopause symptoms that are actually estrogen dominant symptoms. So if you're estrogen dominant and you actually have high levels of estrogen at certain times, then you won't want to focus on these foods, because these foods are helping to increase your estrogen levels. But for a regular woman who is in perimenopause, who really her estrogen is very, very volatile and she's experiencing different menopause symptoms, you want to focus on these foods. And they include things like flax seeds, sesame seeds, berries, soy, miso, tofu, all those different types of things.
And you want to flax seed, you want to go for the ground flax seed.
Yes, ground flax seeds. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tamar, ground flax seeds only hold their nutrients for about 2 weeks. If they are kept out in a larder, you want to put them in the freezer, right?
When you're using ground flax seed, number one, not to heat it up. If I put it in my oatmeal, so after I cook my oatmeal, I take it out of the microwave, and only then do I add the flax seed. That's number one. Number two, you grind it, and you can keep it in the freezer. You don't want to grind it every day, which is a bummer. Grind a bit, but keep it in the freezer. Store it in the freezer so it won't go rancid. That's yes.
So those types of things you want to add to your diet also. And maybe, do you have recommendations of good herbs and spices that are supportive for women in perimenopause? I have a few, but I'm sure you have some also.
No, I think the phytoestrogens more. The black cohosh does help some people. It's not unequivocal, but
I was thinking things like turmeric, which is really good for joint inflammation, and cumin and things like that.
Turmeric and garlic and ginger and a lot of different herbs. Those are all, huge antioxidant sources, and those are going to be amazing for our nutrition, for anti-inflammatory. Some of them are antibacterial, antifungal, so they're amazing things. And now is fresh turmeric root season. I just bought some last week, so go for it. Get it, grind it up, and just throw it into different things. Grind it small. It's a great color. It adds amazing color to your rice, to whatever, and tons of antioxidants. Yep.
Okay. So we've covered weight gain, why it happens in perimenopause. We've covered the fact that our digestive system changes during these years, and what worked before may not work for you now. We've discussed what foods are beneficial to be eating, what we should be eating at this stage of our lives to help with weight gain, weight loss, balancing things out. we've talked about what we think about detoxes and cleanses. Is there anything else still left for us to talk about that is really important that women know?
Well, what I wrote down, two things. In terms of exercise, we all know that it's about the importance of exercise. It's no secret that we lead in general a sedentary lifestyle. But I heard from many clients, they say, but if I don't do a half hour, that's not really going to count. Right. No, you start with baby steps. You start with whatever works for you. If 10 minutes works for you, you start with 10 minutes and you try to build it from there. Okay, so start, get a friend, get a good video. There's amazing videos for people who are just starting out. But start with baby steps, start with whatever is comfortable for you. It's not a competition with anybody else. It's for you, your health, and you're number one. The other thing with the menu is, as much as possible, to plan ahead your menu, set up your, do as much prep as possible, set up your menu so that you can cook a few things. You don't have to be a short order cook every day. That will definitely facilitate healthier eating. So that's what I wanted to say.
Good advice. So I think the only thing that I really want to say is that we should not take for granted the role that cortisol and insulin play in our weight gain. It's not just about the food that you're eating, it's about what's going on in your body as a whole system. And I think that we need to think about that, about reducing our cortisol, reducing our stress levels, and balancing out our insulin, so reducing that carb, sugar intake.
With the exercise.
Yeah. And yes, and the other thing I think I want to say is, if I can just ask, the other thing I just want to say is that I think there are a couple of really good trick foods to add to our diet that can really help support and nourish us. So things like apple cider vinegar, the things like turmeric and those other herbs and spices, some of the phytoestrogen foods, the good fats. There are some essential things that we should be having in our diet, regardless of what else is going on, that can really help to support us and just help to improve how we feel, and just improve our digestion, because it's not only about the weight, it's also about how we feel. Do you feel bloated every day? Are you gassy every day? Do you have stomach cramps every day? Like, those types of things are things that women really do experience. It's not just about the weight. It's also about how you're feeling in your body. Do you have energy? Are you exhausted the whole time? I think we need to remember that it's not only about the weight, it's also about what the food that we're eating does to us and for us.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So this has been really, really interesting for me. I hope it's been interesting for you. I hope it's been interesting for everyone who's been listening and watching. If you are watching on replay, not watching live, then just put in the comments #replay. You can write any comments or questions you have, and we will respond to you, even if you're not watching live. I think that's it for now.
And next week we have a program, right?
Next week we do, and that is we have a guest speaker who is going to be coming in and talking to us, but we're going to be advertising all of that stuff in the Menopause Cafe Israel, so you can absolutely join us.
She's going to be amazing. You're going to really love the session.
Yeah, you're going to not want to miss that one, that's for sure. And we're going to be having monthly conversations like this over the next 4 or 5 months. We were going to be having monthly conversations in the Menopause Cafe Israel Facebook group. And if there's a topic that you want specifically to be covered, then put it in the comments. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, everyone, have a great evening.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.